National Election Commission uncertain whether they will be able to announce the date of the election tomorrow. Payment of compensation to the finance depositors begins. Protests in many areas of the country. Who is the chairman of the Kantale sugar factory? 2 people lay claim for the top position. A wanted criminal killed in a shootout with police.
A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. Let's take a look at the stories in detail now. The chairman of the National Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, has said that the parliamentary election cannot be held in June under any circumstances given the current situation in the country. Now, he made this remark during the trial election that was held in keeping with the newly introduced health directives.
The trial election was held with the participation of 239 voters in Ambalangoda. The practicality of the health guidelines that should be followed while entering or leaving polling stations had been examined during the exercise. Step 1. Wash your hands before entering the polling station. Step 2. Remove the face mask to establish your identity after entering the polling station. Step 3. Follow health directives while marking the fingers of voters. Step 4. Wash both hands before leaving the polling station.
Based on the situation that we have witnessed today, there are no major problems, but this cannot be generalized. That is because we have to be mindful of the cost. This is the people's money. Democracy is expensive. That cannot be achieved through cheap means. A country which does not have a parliament that consists of elected representatives of the people is not democratic. A country governed by officials may shine for a small period, but it will end up in a dictatorship. This disease is not something that can be controlled completely. We will have to live with that. This is how we will have to conduct the much delayed provincial council election as well in 2021.
Will the date of the election be announced tomorrow?
We cannot say that it will be announced for sure. We said that we will not be able to announce it until the 8th. I feel that most probably we will be able to announce the date tomorrow after discussing about it. Since this is a 3-member commission, I cannot say that it will definitely happen. However, I can say one thing. The election won't be held in June. That is something that I can confirm.
Has the printing of ballot papers been suspended?
The government printer hasn't issued minutes on the decision to suspend the printing of ballot papers for 5 districts. It was an official there who said that we have to inspect this again. That is because we created a new printing plate consisting the symbols of parties. However, the symbols of some parties had not been printed properly. Therefore, we had asked one portion of the ballot papers which were printed on Friday to be sent to us to be examined. However, the sample turned out good. So we gave the go-ahead to continue printing. Printing had recommenced yesterday, and I feel that it would have been completed by now. This wasn't something that was done to sabotage the election process.
The main suspect of the shooting incident at a restaurant in Soisapura Moratua on May 28 died during an exchange of gunfire with the police this morning.
The suspect, identified as Pathuranage Raja Vimaladharma, alias Guna Kovile Raja, was wanted for his involvement in a shooting carried out at a restaurant in Soisapura. 3 police officers attached to the investigations were suspended for their failure to apprehend the suspects involved in the shooting. Police spokesperson SP Jalya Senoratna said the Paliagoda and Kelaniya police crime divisions had raided a house in Ballapana in Minuangoda after receiving a tip-off which claimed that an underworld leader was hiding at the residence. Police said The suspect had opened fire when they had attempted to arrest him from his hideout at Dunagaha in Ballapana area in Minwangoda. The suspect had succumbed to his injuries upon admission to the Devulapitia hospital. The deceased, who has been identified as a key figure in organized crime, had been a wanted suspect for several murders and criminal offences. 2 national identity cards and a 9mm pistol was found in the possession of the suspect. The suspect's remains currently lie at the Negombo hospital.
The central bank has said that it has begun compensating the depositors of the Finance PLC by issuing a maximum compensation of 600,000 rupees. However, depositors in several areas of the country have been severely inconvenienced as a result of being unable to collect their deposits. Depositors in several areas of the country visited the branches of People's Bank this morning in a bid to collect compensation. Our correspondents who visited many areas including Gaul, Kandy, Ampara, Jayala, Mathura and Battaramulla had observed that the process of issuing compensation had not been carried out efficiently. A tense situation arose at the Gaul branch of the People's Bank after more than 300 depositors had not received compensation.
මහජන බැංකුවේ මේ මෞසාකා වලට යන්න කියලා තමයි කිව්වේ කතා කරලා ඇහුවාම බැංකුවෙන් කියන්නේ පසුව දනුම් දෙන්නම් කියලා. නෑ සාර්ථක වැඩපිළිවෙලක් පේන්නේ නෑ බොරුවක් කරන්න කියලා අපේ අදහස. කට්ටිය ගෙන්නලා කට්ටිය රස්තිය ආදු කරන එක විතරයි කරන්නේ. කිසිම දෙයක් මේ සත පහක්වත් දෙවලා නෑ. ඔව් සත පහක්වත් තාම දීලා නෑ.
ID කොපි එකයි ෆික්ස් ඩිපොසිට් එක කොපි එකයි බාරගත්තා දැන්. ඔව් බැංකුව දැනුවත් නෑ. සල්ලි දාලා දෙන්නද කියලා පෙන්නන්නේ නැතිලු.
A group of people among 4,000 depositors at the People's Bank branch in Anuradhapura arrived at the bank to collect their compensation. Our correspondent reported that some depositors had received compensation. However, a tense situation arose after individuals who had deposited more than 600,000 rupees had demanded the entire amount to be compensated.
I have 2 daughters. I must send them to university. However, I don't have money as I deposit them here upon being asked to do so by the central bank. We earn our money with much difficulty while combating the problems of wild elephants. I wish to ask them to give us our money. Otherwise, I will go before the central bank with both of my children and consume poison.
A large group of people arrived at the People's Bank branch in Chilau this morning. Our correspondent reported that compensation had not been paid to several depositors as their details had not been sent by the central bank.
It has been more than 30 years since I placed my first deposit of rupees 6,600. I earned an income with much difficulty. I am 71 years old now. I am left with nothing. I depend on this money to live.
A tense situation arose after the manager of the bank had informed that compensation cannot be paid for depositors who have placed 2 or more deposits.
We are conducting ourselves in line with the advice of the central bank. Therefore, we have been instructed to provide compensation for 1 deposit based on 1 ID card. We are extremely hurt and are in deep sorrow. My child came up to me and said not to ponder over this as I would fall sick and that it would become a problem. It was the money that I earned after retiring at the age of 50 that was deposited here. We deposited money at an institution that is managed by the central bank. We saw the cutouts that had been displayed here.
The central bank has said that unsettled compensation would be paid after liquidating the assets of the Finance PLC. Accordingly, the central bank said that under the first phase of the providing compensation, depositors who hold single deposits would be granted compensation at the People's Bank branch nearest to the branches of the Finance PLC. A tense situation arose outside the People's Bank in Kandy after several depositors had not been paid compensation. The police had arrived in the area to control the situation.
I deposited this money so that it can be used to carry out my final rites. Why aren't they giving us our money? On the 21st, we were informed to come and collect our compensation. That is why I came here. Return my money at least to purchase a coffin for myself.
Former Finance Minister Mangala Samarvera highlighted the need for a clear plan combined with decisive, courageous leadership that places the public interest above anything else. Now, he made this statement issuing a special statement titled "A New Deal for Sri Lanka."
In his statement, he points out that the worst economic crisis since independence is upon us, and adds that for some decades now, the grim clouds of debt, waste and corruption have been gathering over our island. He says now, as this fearsome storm of the coronavirus unleashes its fury, anguish and despair, grief and sorrow, fear and rage will engulf us all. The statement highlights the fact that hundreds of thousands of our countrymen and women are likely to lose their jobs, while hunger will visit countless families, and adds that the debt collector's dreaded shadow is looming over millions. The statement includes a framework on how to understand the causes of this calamity, devise radical plans and act decisively. Mangala Samaravira likens the economy of Sri Lanka to a grand old Valawa whose proud inhabitants, despite hardships and imminent poverty, live on stories of heroic deeds and prosperity of their aristocratic lineage. Elaborating on the analogy, he states, "From afar, the elegant roofs and ornate woodwork shine of prosperity, stability and confidence, but it is only when one is invited in for tea that the leaky roof, the termite-infested trellises and moth-eaten curtains become apparent." Speaking further on the state of the country, he says, "An eagle flying over the island sees great ports and airports, but swooping down discovers their cavernous emptiness." As he casts his eye over the city, grand condominiums contain people who cannot afford the lifestyles they live flying uphill. He sees plantations reaching exhaustion and garment factories that cannot compete. He adds that the newspapers are filled with ideas for relief plans, and such debate and discussion is good. He also states, nevertheless, the cold, hard and unavoidable fact is that only the government can provide substantial relief. He goes on to state, quote, "This is not the time for petty political debates and scurrilous token patriotism. We need a clear plan combined with decisive, courageous leadership that places the public interest above anything else." Unquote. The statement provides a framework to act upon, which includes foreign aid, borrowing, asset transfers to citizens, reforms and just taxation. Former Finance Minister Mangala Samaravira says that the government must take these measures in order to ensure that the 5,000 rupee relief continues throughout this crisis period and is increased up to 10,000 rupees for the most vulnerable families, supply banks with necessary funds to effectively implement and extend the moratorium on loan payments, especially in microfinance and leasing, provide firms with further concessionary loans and other relief subject to the conditions that they do not lay off workers, commence a labor-intensive public work drive in productive infrastructure, especially public transportation, reskill workers who are made unemployed, making them employment ready for new generation and export industries.
Former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the cabinet and the government should take the responsibility of failing to eradicate the coronavirus.
කොරෝනා වසංගතය ආරම්භ වුණ අවස්ථාවේදී පාර්ලිමේන්තු විරුද්ධ පක්ෂ තීරණය කරා.
The opposing factions to the government decided to help the government to save lives when the COVID-19 virus entered the country. We only asked one thing from the government: please carry out 5,000 tests a day. How many tests have been carried out as of now? Only 75,239 tests have been carried out since the 18th of February. The government only wanted to reap the political benefits out of this situation. So who is responsible? It is the government, the cabinet and the Minister of Health. Earlier we asked them to bring down the necessary equipment for tests. We asked them to bring down face masks. But to the contrary, the government was sufficed with the donations given by China, India and Pakistan. The World Bank donated $230 million. What happened to that money which was given to us to eradicate COVID-19? Not a single bed or a ventilator were bought. What medicine was bought? Many countries manufacture their own sanitary medicine, but Sri Lanka doesn't. Alcohol manufacturing companies in various countries are selling their stored alcohol. I asked the government to produce the statistics of all the affairs they carried out. Nothing was produced before the country.
මම ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ඉල්ලුවා මට ලබලා දෙන්න කියලා රටට ලබලා දෙන්න කියලා තමන් කරන ඒ කටයුතු ගැන සංඛ්‍යාලේඛනය එකක්.
The leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajit Premadasa, yet again reminded the government on providing the people with a fuel concession.
The current government is keeping the fuel price stagnant inhumanely without dropping it. The Prime Minister of Pakistan has proudly said that Pakistan has the biggest drop in fuel prices in South Asia. I would like to ask the government, if Pakistan can drop their fuel prices, why can't the Sri Lankan government reduce it? Why aren't they reducing the fuel price and giving the people a concession? Why is the government refusing to reduce the fuel prices? Why don't they like to give a concession to the public? Do you wish to see the people of the country suffering more? Therefore, we request the government to reduce the fuel prices and provide some relief to the people, help towards strengthening the economic revival of the people. The people are finding it very difficult to live. In the name of humanity, help the people who brought you into power.
Taking a look at more local stories, the environment has been adversely affected due to large-scale sand mining in the Mahavali River in the Thummodar area in Kantale. The most alarming fact is that the mining is being carried out with the approval of the relevant state institutions.
The sand mining is being carried out within the Somavathir Reserve under the assurance that the money earned from the sale of the sand will be used to construct a protective dam between the Mahavali River and the Suryapura village. According to our correspondent, the Mahavali Authority, the Forest Conservation Department, Geological and Mines Bureau and the Wildlife Department have issued licenses to carry out the mining activities, while officials of these institutes also come to observe the mining activities. Truckloads carrying sand travel about 4 to 5 kilometers daily across the Somavathir Reserve, which has a sensitive environment. According to our correspondent, around 400 vehicles travel across this reserve daily. The government has once again started the sand mining racket as it used to do. Minister S.M. Chandrasena is responsible for this destruction done to the Trincomalee district. So far, 25,000 acres in Seruville and 22,500 acres in the Trincomalee district are affected. They have brought in their henchmen to the Anuradhapura district. Along with 2 excavators, JCB heavy machinery was taken to the reserve. The environment has been damaged. Elephant passes have been obstructed. They are carrying out the sand racket in a prosperous manner. We made inquiries from parties who were accused of destroying the environment.
Sand filling has been taking place with the approval of the Mahavali Authority, the Wildlife Department, the Irrigation Department and the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau. Farmers' federations have constantly complained that their paddy fields become inundated when sand remains in the Mahavali River. That is what I have been informed. However, I hope to inquire into this situation even further. I will not allow the Somavathir Reserve to be destroyed.
All activities using machinery in the Mahavali River have been stopped. However, in this case, there are proposals from a cabinet subcommittee and it has even gone up to the Attorney General's department. We took measures to use machinery to expedite the process and finish laying the stones. At the same time, I have instructed to use the tractors of the farmers in the area and also to employ them for work. The Attorney General's department has approved the Mahavali Authority or other institutes to carry out this project. Accordingly, we handed this over to the mining technical unit. Threats that may arise if the flood blunt collapses can be averted through this. The rock wall can cause riverbank erosion in other areas. Therefore, I do not see anything wrong with this.
Erosion is taking place on the opposite side of the bank in which sand mining is taking place. If soil erosion continues to take place, then paddy fields and villages will become inundated by water. According to repeated requests made by farmers' federations, several institutions have decided to remove the sand with the support of a government authority to protect the paddy fields and villages.
On an earlier occasion, a group of sand merchants staged a protest in the Kantale town, charging that a sand mining racket is being carried out in the guise of building the protective dam on the Mahaveli River in Tunmodara, Kantale. The protest was staged following the proposal of the provincial Mahaveli office to use the money obtained from the sale of this sand to renovate the dam. When farmer organizations expressed their consent to the program of the Mahaveli authority, a tense situation arose. Agrarian societies earn commissions daily through this project. This is the commission received by the agrarian societies. By the 23rd of May, 26,632 cubes of sand were transported. The tractor payments are made through us. So we have made this calculation according to the number of loads carried. Accordingly, agrarian societies have earned 3,334,887 rupees. Due to sand mining carried out within the Somavati Reserve, the reserve's environment has been adversely affected. The animals living in the reserve now have to fight the machinery entering the forest reserve.
While the Somavati Reserve is constantly targeted by sand and other various racketeers, it is the people who constantly suffer due to it. The risk of wild elephants has constantly increased in many villages in the Polonnaruwa district. Paddy farmers of the Kandakadu village of the Velikanda Divisional Secretariat are facing a huge inconvenience because of this. Farming is the main source of income for the people of this village. No matter what efforts are taken to prevent it, often crops get destroyed by the elephants who come from the Somavati Reserve. The villagers claim that even though there is an electric fence, it is not in functional condition. Villagers say that since 1993, they have faced less elephant problems, but now they are gradually increasing. At times, elephants destroy property as well. The books and stationery items of these children have also been destroyed.
කුඹුරේ ඉඳලා එනකොට ගේ පෙරලලා ගෙදර ඉඳලා යනකොට කුඹුරේ විනාශ කළා. දැන් අපි ආවිලා අවුරුදු 26ක් වෙනවා 26 මේ කරදරේ තියෙනවා. වන ජීවිතයෙන් කරන්නේ ගම් වල දරුණු වලි ගේලා මේ සෝමාවතිය අබේගුවට අතාරිනවා. අලින්ගේ පුදුම දෙයක් තියෙන්නේ මැරෙන්නේ නැතුව බේරුණා පෙරේදා. මේ පැත්තෙන් ගියා ඊට පස්සේ අම්මා එන්නේ පොයි පැත්තෙන් පල්ලා මේ අර පැත්තෙන් ගියා. ඒයන්ට අලිය බික්කේ එහා පැත්තෙන් හිටිය එකපාරට ආපුවා මේ දොරකොඩ ඉස්සරහට අපි දෙන ගෙට පැන්නා. ඒක කවුරුත් බලන්න කෙනෙක් නැහැ නේ අපි අහිංසක දුප්පත් මිනිස්සු ගැන.
What they request for is a lasting solution. Kandakadu village is located in the Kandakadu Grama-Niladhari division of the Polonnaruwa district. The Gammadda annual report has all the details and records of the problems these people face related to elephants.
Former chairman of the COP, D.E.W. Gunasekara, says that people eligible to be in parliament should be elected.
There has never been a scenario where the US economy was lagging without being able to move forward. The US government has now stopped printing money. They do not have money in their treasury now. The central bank does not have any money. The situation is the same in other countries as well as our country. It is amidst those challenges and crises that the election is being held. What kind of a parliament are we going to create? The MPs we elect have to succeed in 4 different categories: legislation, policy making, financial supervision and public representation. Only a handful of people with these qualifications were there in the previous parliament. Some MPs did not bother to talk for 5 years. Some are on the verge of getting their pensions who did not speak in the parliament, but they came first in their respective districts. Therefore, think twice when you use your universal franchise this time. It is not up to us to build this country amidst a plethora of future challenges. The future generations have to take it upon themselves. Therefore, the next parliament needs people who can think, not people who shout. When you don't have a group as such, you have to bow your heads to the policies of the authorities. When the central bank was robbed, the previous regime was unable to take the matter forward towards a debate. It was included in the parliamentary agenda and dates were named on 2 occasions, but it was not discussed in the parliament. So we don't want a parliament like that again.
Think before you vote.
Construction work of the main coastal road between Chilau and Irunavilla began today under the auspices of former State Minister of Indigenous Medicine Priyanka Rajaratne.
500 million rupees has been allocated for this project by the Ministry of Highways. Many of the equipment needed for the construction activities have been brought to the site. Although the construction of the road began, some people had this to say.
These people brought equipment to construct this road before the previous elections and then removed it after the polls. This time as a councillor, I state with responsibility that we will not allow them to take this equipment without constructing this road. I don't care what law they use, but I will scatter these goods on by roads with the help of these area residents.
These residents spoke in this manner because equipment for the construction of this very same road were brought to the site before the previous election as well. However, the equipment were removed from the area shortly after the conclusion of the election. This time, the construction of the road will be conducted in 2 phases. The first phase is from Chilau to Thoduwava and the second phase is from Thoduwava to Talvilla. According to the area residents, promises to construct the road were made over a decade ago. People using this road staged demonstrations on a number of occasions. They allege that politicians had deceived them at all of these protests.
Think before you vote.
Using modern technology is something that is not only limited to those in developed countries. We found a farmer who is carrying out his farming activities using technologies that are being successfully applied overseas.
W.T. Gunawardena, who lives in Hasalaka, is a technical officer by profession. Using his technical knowledge, he has begun his agricultural cultivation at home. For this, he used a plot of land less than 5,000 square feet in size. The crops are grown in a layered manner. In place of physical labor, Gunawardena has utilized technology to provide the crops with the necessary water and fertilizer. Sensors have been fixed on these bags that hold the plant. The sensor sends a message saying it needs water. Then the motor turns on and provides the water. In addition, this also receives the amount of fertilizer needed daily. In addition, the temperature is also controlled. This sensor determines whether the moisture is sufficient. The cultivation that takes use of knowledge and technology as opposed to labor has proven to be successful. I wanted to use the spider theory for this. I used the technology for it. I made a farm that works automatically even if I am not at home. For a month, this will run itself automatically. For now, the only cost I have to bear is for seeds and fertilizer. There is no maintenance cost or expense for chemicals. We can make a big profit out of this. This can be done to earn a good profit, and it is easy on the mind too. In place of chemical fertilizer, this farm is mostly fed using compost fertilizer including coconut husks. Mr. Gunawardena's son Damit helped him in setting up the farm. Damit is waiting to commence his higher education. What I can tell the young people is that this place is different. It is a smart farm. This farm is proof that if you work your mind, you can generate income without exhausting your body. We ask that the country takes advantage of this.
Who is the chairman of the Kantale Sugar Factory? There are 2 people laying claim to the top position of this institution.
Operations at the Kantale Sugar Factory, which was gifted by the Czechoslovakian government during the administration of former Prime Minister Sirimavo Bandaranaike, began in 1960. The factory is located on a land area that spans over 21,000 acres. The government of good governance had entered into an agreement with the Indian government to resume operations of the factory, which had been dormant. Accordingly, the Sri Lankan government received 51% of the company, while an Indian company held 49% stake. K.P. Nagaraja was then appointed as the chairman of the factory. A group of employees at the factory had arrived at the Sinipura temple after being informed that a new chairman is to be appointed to the company. A meeting had taken place with the participation of a limited crowd.
I am representing the investors. The investor has proposed my name to take over as the chairman of the company. It was the investor who appointed me as the chairman of the company with the blessings of the government and asked me to assume duties. Remember this. We have been cheated for 27 years now. We are still being cheated by the government. They send imposters and we get deceived by them. Now we are tired of this. We have been deceived over several scams and tricks. It is not only me, but the area residents also do not want to trust anyone. I am not much aware of this group which came here. It was a Pradesh Sabha member who included me in this.
සභාවතුරු පත් වෙනවා ඇමතිවරු වෙනවා ඡන්දිකාට විතරක් මුල්ගල් තියෙනවා උග්ගස් මේ ඉටෝල යනවා ඒකත් මා අපිට සැකයක්.
Employees attached to the sugar factory claim that they have not been notified about the appointment of a new chairman.
Some people who haven't set foot on the premises of the factory are trying to whip up some jokes before the election. They are trying to deceive the youth here once again. What will happen after winning the election is that we will receive more strength to carry out these projects. New factories receive new equipment with the latest technology. None of the machinery have been used. Iron is being used for different purposes and not for the machines of factories.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Kantale sugar factory, KP Nagaraja, has insisted that he continues to remain in this position.
Came to know that there are some two imposters who visited our Kantale site yesterday, claiming that they are the chairman of this project, which is a wrong information given to the area people. All the local population, they know who are the promoter of this project. They will not be misguided. People should be careful not to entertain these kind of imposters.
The regime in power between 2005 and 2015 obtained a large loan from China to construct a so-called much-needed port in Hambantota. The massive loans obtained for the construction of this port that was due to provide services to a large number of ships that sail along a maritime route that runs in close proximity to the port through the entire country into the clutches of a debt trap. The regime that came into power in 2015 revealed that billions of rupees were exchanged as commissions for the construction of this port and branded the project as a white elephant. They said that there is a massive rock at the port and that no ship can dock. But when they came into power, they made plans to sell off the Hambantota port, and they justified the sale saying that it must be sold off to save the country from the massive debt burden the country was stuck in. Massive outcries against the sale put a halt to these plans, and instead the port was given to China on a 99-year lease. Subject Minister at the time, Arjuna Ranatunga, who objected to this, lost his ministerial portfolio. They said operations at the Hambantota port will be run as a joint project between Sri Lanka and China, and even incorporated a company for this purpose. But the revenue-rich sections of the port are all under the control of the Chinese companies. The Auditor General says that none of the loans obtained for the Hambantota port has been accounted for in the financial statements of the Treasury. Was the loan obtained for the construction of the port repaid, or was the money received used for something else? Only those who were involved in handing over the port to China on a 99-year lease are privy to the answer. Shouldn't the people of the country be made aware of these dealings? We want a clean parliament. We want a clean government. Think before you vote.
Election Commissioner Professor Ratnajiva Hool has been mired in a storm of controversy lately, with various allegations being levelled at him. Chairman of the Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, was asked about these allegations earlier today.
I can say two things. He has made this statement in Tamil. Unfortunately, I do not understand Tamil. Therefore, I need a translation done by a sworn translator to understand it. The second point is, I cannot make any statement without understanding what he meant. And for that, I should discuss this with him. If I fail to do this, then I am being unfair to him and to the people who expect an answer from me. I got to know about this today. Therefore, we didn't have time to make a statement. Even if I do make a statement, it is important to discuss the matter, as I believe that any problem can be resolved after a sit-down discussion. Through criticism, problems do not get resolved, but get complicated. I always prefer discussions and consensus. Therefore, we will have a discussion and see what happens.
We spoke to Professor Ratnajeevan Hool about each of these allegations. Professor Hool, there are so many allegations being hurled your way, from asking people not to vote for a particular political party to your daughter breaking quarantine regulations. Tell us first, did you ask people not to vote for a party?
March 12th movement, about 2 or 3 years ago, had a big opening at BMICH. All commission members were in attendance, and we endorsed their principle. Do not vote for bad people. Do not vote for people who have liquor shops. Do not vote for all these people who use violence. And that is all I am saying. I never said don't vote for the SLPP. I am too experienced to say something like that. What I said is don't vote for people who cheat you. Don't vote for people who give you misinformation.
What about the matters surrounding your daughter?
What happened is she was never a COVID patient. She was stuck in England as a student. The High Commission arranged for her transport to Colombo. And as soon as she came, the army took her to Jetwing Blue Hotel, where she spent 2 weeks, for which she had to fork out 175,000 rupees. Right? And after spending so much money, it is being claimed that she never went through quarantine. Whereas there is a certificate signed by both Mr. Lieutenant General De Silva and Dr. Jasinger, saying, if you read the last 3 lines of the certificate, saying that she has completed the procedures for quarantine. Completed, right? And I gave the commission chairman a copy of the letter. It's not something that I hid because there was no reason to hide that. And these people at the commission got very hysterical. And they said that I had come without quarantine. And I had to run back to Jaffna because I was told to go into 2 weeks of quarantine. And where do I go for 2 weeks of quarantine in Colombo? With children and so on. So I took off. And the number plate of my car was given to all the army checkpoints.
Amidst all of these controversies, why hold on to this position?
The whole Sri Lankan electoral system is based on doing favors to each other, not punishing anyone, not taking any complaint seriously, but to, even when you are adversaries, the culture is to pat each other on the back and maybe make some formal things to show that you are serious about your job, and then nothing happens. So that is something that would, in my view, if I step down from the commission, that would die. That will not happen, and so long as I'm on the commission, I will keep pushing for complaints to be taken seriously, complaints to be acted on. So I cannot just run away. I have to say it, at least until I am pushed out of the commission in some way. I need to do my job.
The recent views expressed by Professor Ratnajeevan Hool was a topic of discussion in the political arena.
He is saying not to vote for the SLPP. What is the right he has to say that? We are observing this conduct as they are trying to postpone the election. We do not know whether this is a trick. They may be trying to prompt us to file a complaint so that the election can be further delayed by conducting an investigation into this. Therefore, we will act in a very thoughtful manner regarding this matter. This is an offence under 2 laws. One is the laws pertaining to the election. As this remark causes disharmony between communities, it is also a serious offence under the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
Hool has said that the people must not vote for corrupt individuals and fraudsters. He has not named the Podujana Peramuna or any other party. If someone is assuming that the SLPP is synonymous for fraudsters, then it must be based on their personal knowledge. If we do not stand up against the unfair accusations that are levelled for political gains, who will stand up for them?
We wish to tell Hool that he will have to keep whining after this election is held. That is because of releasing false statements while being part of an independent commission, failing to protect its independent nature and conducting himself in a biased and extremist manner.
Pool Mahatyata හූල්ල ඉන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
These are shameless attempts that are being taken to tarnish the image of the Election Commission. I wish to state that criticizing Hool is a different matter. However, they have tarnished the image of the Commission and disgraced them before the citizens of this country. What are they trying to do? What will be the end result if the Commission becomes illegitimate? The election will be delayed and the people won't leave their homes to vote.
Free and fair election must be held in this country. For whom will he vote? Is he trying to imply that the people should vote for Sajith Premadasa, or is it for Sumandiran? This is a problem. The Elections Commission must express their stance clearly.
He bears an independent stance and revealing the problem that he has to face. What we expect by establishing an independent commission is to recognize their powers and give it value to allow the members of the commission to carry out their duties in a free and fair manner.
Legal action must be taken against him. The Criminal Investigations Department must take action. This is what I feel. During the next cabinet meeting, I will put forth a proposal to take the relevant action against him within the legal framework.
They immediately claim that he has said not to vote for the SLPP. That is because they themselves know those who defraud and hoodwink the people.
Minister of Passenger Transport Management Mahinda Amarveera stated that a final decision on the state of public transport will be made following the meeting with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa tomorrow. Issuing a release, the Ministry of Transport Services Management stated that a number of stakeholders had been invited for the discussion.
Even though the interprovincial transport has begun, there is the issue with railway services that need to be discussed. We have been unable to make a decision. We are already discussing this matter with regard to the Colombo and Gampaha districts. Once the clearance from the health authorities is received, we will relax these rules for these areas too.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Our interpreter this evening is Tharaka Gabriel. And we'll leave you tonight with the best YouTube video of the day of the Negatimu Sri Lanka song.
Gunmatter, Negatimu Sri Lanka, best YouTube video of the day.
Negatimu Sri Lanka. Negatimu Sri Lanka, Negatimu Sri Lanka, Negatimu Sri Lanka. Mata khana the money the panpu hala yendirum Sri Lanka. Masinai amacha hai, arise Sri Lankan sound. Elutidu Sri Lanka. Rise up Sri Lanka. Anduru wala pata atarin hinehi Negatimu Sri Lanka. Dia sata sangka badaka atarin Negatimu Sri Lanka. Kita hui diri mereka bangga Negatimu Sri Lanka. Ete divana namaro kaya hamude Negatimu Sri Lanka, Negatimu Sri Lanka, rise up Sri Lanka, Negatimu Sri Lanka, up Negatimu Sri Lanka.